She thought making me choose between my side hustle and her was smart strategy. Instead, she taught me that some people will always try to keep you small and hold back your growth. Hey, this is Matthew. I'm not gonna lie, at 22, I thought I had it all figured out. Had this decent corporate job, nothing fancy, but it paid the bills, and I was dating Elizabeth, who seemed pretty cool at first. But here's the thing that was eating at me every single day. I didn't want to be one of those guys who wakes up at 35 wondering where the hell his 20s went. You know what I mean? Like, I had this burning need to build something real before I hit 30. Then maybe I could think about settling down and all that traditional stuff. It started so simply it's almost embarrassing. This coworker Jake was always complaining about wanting to get in shape, but not knowing where to start. I'd been lifting since high school, nothing crazy, just consistent, and I guess it showed. So I offered to help him out for like $30 a session, just basic stuff in the company gym after work. Jake lost 15 pounds in 2 months, and suddenly everyone's asking me what his secret was. Word spread fast. Before I knew it, I had 3 more people from the office wanting training sessions. Then Jake's wife wanted in, then her sister. It was wild how quickly it grew, just from people seeing results and talking to each other. I wasn't trying to build an empire or anything. I just saw an opportunity and figured why not make some extra cash doing something I actually enjoyed. The money wasn't life-changing at first, maybe an extra $300 a week, but it felt different than my regular paycheck. This was mine, you know? I earned it by actually helping people transform their lives, not by sitting in meetings about meetings. So I started investing it right back. Got my first real certification, bought some basic equipment, started learning everything I could about nutrition and program design. Elizabeth didn't really care at first. When it was just Jake and maybe one other person, she'd actually brag about her boyfriend, the personal trainer. It was kind of cute how proud she seemed. But as my client list grew and my schedule got tighter, something shifted. I get home from my day job, grab a protein shake, and head right back out for evening sessions. Weekends became prime training time because that's when people were free. The complaints started small. Why are you always at the gym became her favorite question. Then it escalated to you care more about working out than spending time with me. I tried explaining that this wasn't just working out. I was building something, but she'd get this look like I was speaking a foreign language. The worst part was how she'd plan things right during times she knew I had clients scheduled. Like, we'd make plans for Saturday afternoon. Then Friday night, she'd suddenly want to drive 2 hours to visit her college friend, knowing damn well I had 3 sessions booked for Saturday morning. When I'd remind her about my clients, she'd roll her eyes and say something like, "Can't you just cancel this once?" But here's what she didn't understand. When someone trusts you with their health goals, when they're paying you their hard-earned money to help them change their life, you don't just cancel because your girlfriend wants to be spontaneous. These people were counting on me. Sarah was finally seeing progress after years of failed diets. Mike was getting strong enough to play with his kids again. How do you explain to someone that you can't just flake on that? The arguments became a regular thing. She'd accuse me of choosing strangers over her, and I tried to explain that consistency was everything in this business. You can't build trust by being unreliable. But Elizabeth saw it as me prioritizing other people over our relationship. Every client session became a personal slight against her. What really got to me was how she'd dismiss what I was doing. She'd call it my little gym hobby or ask when I was going to get serious about a real career. Real career? I was making decent side money doing something I loved, something that actually mattered to people. But in her mind, if it wasn't a traditional 9-to-5 with a fancy title, it wasn't legitimate. The breaking point came when I started booking clients for Sunday mornings. Elizabeth lost it. Sunday was supposed to be our day, she said. But Sunday morning was literally the only time this one client could train consistently. He was a single dad working 2 jobs, and Sunday morning was his only free slot. Was I supposed to tell him tough luck because my girlfriend wanted to sleep in and then get brunch? I kept trying to make both work, but it was becoming impossible. Every time I chose a client over hanging out, the tension got worse. Every time I invested my training money back into certifications instead of date nights, she got more frustrated. The writing was on the wall, but I guess I was hoping she'd eventually understand that what I was building was for both our futures. Looking back, I think that was my first mistake, thinking she'd eventually get it instead of realizing she never wanted to get it in the first place.
Hey there, I'm Elizabeth. I'm not going to apologize for wanting to actually enjoy my 20s. Everyone always acts like wanting to have fun with your boyfriend makes you some kind of monster, but seriously, what's the point of being young if you're just going to work all the time? I mean, we're supposed to be in the honeymoon phase of life right now, not grinding like we're already 35 with a mortgage and kids. Matthew used to be so much fun during college. We'd go out on random weeknight dates, take spontaneous weekend trips, stay up talking until 3 in the morning just because we could. That's what your 20s are for, making memories, being carefree, figuring out who you are together. But then this whole fitness obsession started taking over everything, and suddenly I felt like I was dating his schedule instead of him. I tried to be supportive at first, I really did. When it was just Jake from his office, I thought it was sweet that Matthew was helping someone out. But then it became Jake plus 3 other people. Then weekends. Then Sunday mornings, which used to be our lazy day in bed. Before I knew it, I was planning my entire life around his client sessions, and honestly, that's not what I signed up for. Here's what really bothered me. He'd come home from his actual job, barely say hello, chug some disgusting protein shake, and rush right back out. Like, excuse me, but don't I deserve some of your energy too? I'm your girlfriend, not some roommate you barely acknowledge. And when I try to talk to him about my day or something funny that happened at work, he'd be half listening while checking his phone for messages from clients. That's not a relationship. That's being someone's afterthought. The weekend thing was what really pushed me over the edge. Saturday and Sunday were supposed to be ours. That's when couples do things together, when you can actually relax and enjoy each other's company. But Matthew started booking these people for Saturday morning sessions, then Sunday morning sessions, and suddenly our weekends became all about working around his little training schedule. I'd suggest going away for the weekend and he'd be like, well, I have Sarah at 9 and Mike at 11 on Saturday, so we can't leave until after lunch. Are you kidding me? And the money situation was just ridiculous. He'd make a few $100 training people and act like he was some kind of business mogul. Instead of using that money to take me somewhere nice or do something fun together, he'd immediately spend it on more certifications or equipment. Like, you're making maybe $1,000 a month and you think you're building an empire? Please, that's not even rent money. What killed me was how seriously he took it all. These people would text him at all hours asking about meal plans or workout modifications, and he'd actually respond. We'd be at dinner and his phone would buzz and he'd be like, oh, it's just a quick question from a client. Just a quick question that turned into a 10-minute text conversation while I sat there like an idiot waiting for him to remember I existed. The Sunday morning thing was my breaking point. This guy, some random dad, could only train Sunday mornings, and Matthew actually said yes without even asking me. Just decided our lazy Sunday mornings together were less important than this stranger's workout schedule. When I got upset about it, Matthew acted like I was being unreasonable. Like, sorry for wanting to spend weekend mornings with my boyfriend instead of watching him leave at 7 a.m. to go train someone else. I started keeping track of how much time we actually spent together versus how much time he spent on this fitness thing. The numbers were depressing. Between his day job and training clients, I was getting maybe 2 hours a day of his actual attention, and even then he was usually tired or thinking about client programs. That's not a relationship, that's being someone's leftover time. The thing is, I wasn't asking him to stop completely. I just wanted some balance. I wanted to feel like I mattered as much as these random people who were paying him. Is that really so unreasonable? I mean, what's the point of having a girlfriend if you're going to treat her like she's less important than your side hustle clients? When I'd bring this up, he'd get all defensive and start talking about building something meaningful and preparing for the future. But what about building something meaningful with me? What about our future together? He was so focused on this 5-year plan of his that he completely forgot about the person who was supposed to be part of that future. I started realizing that Matthew saw me as something static, like I'd just automatically be there waiting whenever he finally decided to make time for me. But that's not how relationships work. You can't just ignore someone for months while you chase your dreams and expect them to stick around. I had needs too, and feeling like a priority in my own relationship was one of them. So yeah, I decided something had to give. Either he was going to start acting like a boyfriend again, or I was going to find someone who actually wanted to spend their 20s enjoying life instead of grinding every spare minute. Because honestly, life's too short to waste your best years feeling invisible to the person who's supposed to love you most.
The ultimatum came on a Tuesday night, right after I got back from training Mrs. Chun, this 60-year-old woman who just started working out for the first time in her life. I was actually feeling pretty good because she'd just hit a major milestone, and then I walk into the apartment and Elizabeth's sitting on the couch with her arms crossed like she's been rehearsing this moment all day. She didn't even let me get my shoes off. Just launched right into it. It's either this fitness thing or me, Matthew. You can't have both anymore. I remember thinking, wow, okay, so we're really doing this. Not a conversation about finding better balance or figuring out a compromise. Just a straight-up choose me or choose your dreams ultimatum. Here's what hit me in that moment. If someone really loves you, they don't make you choose between them and something you're passionate about building. They figure out how to support it, or at least how to work with it. But Elizabeth wasn't interested in supporting anything. She wanted me available on her terms, when she wanted, how she wanted. That's not love, that's ownership. I told her no, just like that. Not in a mean way, but firm. I said I'm not giving this up, Elizabeth. This is important to me, and it's going somewhere. She got this look on her face like I'd slapped her. Like she genuinely couldn't believe I wasn't immediately caving and apologizing and promising to cancel all my clients tomorrow. Then came the manipulation. Fine, she said, we're done then. Just like that. Grabbed her purse, headed for the door, and threw out this dramatic line about how I'd obviously made my choice. The crazy thing is, I think she expected me to chase after her, to beg her to come back, to promise I'd quit training people if she'd just give me another chance. Instead, I said okay. Just okay. She stopped dead in the doorway and turned around like she'd misheard me. I said, if that's how you want to handle this, then yeah, we're done. You can't threaten to leave someone and then get mad when they let you go. The next few days were weird. She kept texting me these messages that were clearly meant to make me feel guilty and come crawling back. Stuff about how I'd chosen strangers over the person who loved me. How I'd regret this when my little hobby fell apart. But honestly, each message just confirmed I'd made the right choice. Because here's what she never understood. This wasn't just about making extra money or having something to do. I was building something that mattered. Every client who got stronger, lost weight, gained confidence. That was proof I was good at this. Sarah went from barely being able to walk upstairs to running her first 5K. Mike went from pre-diabetic to completely healthy numbers. These weren't just workouts, they were life changes. Without Elizabeth constantly complaining about my schedule, I could finally focus completely on growing this thing. I started taking on more clients, invested in better equipment, signed up for advanced certification programs. The money wasn't huge yet, but it was consistent and growing every month. More importantly, I could see a clear path forward. The relief was incredible. No more guilt about choosing a Sunday morning client over sleeping in. No more rushing through sessions because I knew Elizabeth was sitting at home timing how long I'd been gone. No more having to justify why I was investing my earnings back into the business instead of spending it on restaurants and weekend trips. I started setting real goals. Year 1, build a solid base of regular clients and get my advanced certifications. Year 2, transition to doing this part-time alongside my day job. Year 3, maybe 4, go full-time if the numbers worked out. Having a plan felt amazing, especially when there wasn't someone constantly questioning every step of it. The funny thing is Elizabeth thought she was calling my bluff. Like I'd realize how much I missed her and come running back ready to give up everything for another chance. But every week that passed, every new client I trained, every small success I had, it became clearer that letting her go was the best decision I'd made in years. 3 months after she left, I had a wait list. 6 months later, I was making almost as much from training as my day job. A year later, people were referring their friends to me because they'd seen the results I got. And the whole time, I kept thinking about that ultimatum and how different my life would be if I'd chosen the easy path and given up. Looking back, Elizabeth did me the biggest favor of my life. She forced me to choose between building something meaningful and keeping someone comfortable who didn't want to see me grow. And honestly, that's not even a choice. That's just common sense.
I'm not gonna lie, watching Matthew's Instagram stories has become this weird, guilty habit of mine. Not in a stalker way, just you can't help but check up on people from your past sometimes. And honestly, seeing how things turned out for him has been a real mindfuck for my brain. 5 years ago when I walked out that door, I was so confident he'd come crawling back within a week. I mean, who chooses some random clients over their girlfriend of 2 years, right? I figured his little fitness thing would fizzle out like most people's side hustles do, and then he'd realize what he'd lost. Except that's not what happened at all. Instead, I've spent the last 5 years watching him actually do everything he said he was going to do. And I mean everything. First it was just more clients, then he quit that corporate job, then he opened his own gym. His own actual gym, with his name on the sign and everything. Meanwhile, I've been dating guys who complain about their jobs, but never do anything to change them. Take Jason, the guy I'm with now. He's 28, cute enough, and we have fun together when we go out. But he's still living paycheck to paycheck, still complaining about his boss, still talking about maybe going back to school someday or starting that business idea he's had for 3 years. Sound familiar? It's like I'm dating the version of Matthew who never grew up. The irony is killing me. I wanted someone who would prioritize spending time with me, and I got exactly that. Jason is always available for whatever I want to do. Wants to go to happy hour on a Tuesday. He's in. Random weekend trip? Let's do it. Binge watch Netflix for 8 hours straight? Perfect. But here's the thing nobody tells you about dating someone with no real ambition. It gets boring as hell. There's something attractive about a person who's building something, even if I didn't want to admit it back then. Matthew had this energy, this sense of purpose that made everything feel more exciting. Jason has the energy of someone who's perfectly content being exactly where he is forever. And where he is isn't particularly impressive. I saw Matthew's gym opening on social media, and I'm embarrassed to admit I zoomed in on every single photo. The place was packed. He had this huge smile, looked confident and successful, and there were all these people congratulating him. His clients, his family, even some local news coverage. This wasn't some dingy basement gym either. It was nice, professional, the kind of place you'd actually want to work out. Meanwhile, Jason got passed over for a promotion last month, and his response was to complain about it for 2 weeks straight instead of doing anything productive about it. He makes less money now than Matthew was making from his side hustle 5 years ago. And he's not building toward anything better. The worst part is realizing how wrong I was about what I wanted. I thought I wanted someone who would drop everything for me, who would always put me first no matter what. But what I actually want is someone who has their shit together, who's going somewhere in life, who has goals bigger than just getting through the week. I just didn't realize that back then. When Jason talks about the future, it's all vague maybes and somedays. When Matthew used to talk about the future, he had actual plans with timelines and steps. I thought that was annoying because it meant less spontaneous fun time. Now I'm realizing that spontaneous fun time with someone who's going nowhere isn't actually that fun. You know what's really messing with my head? Matthew is probably making more money from his gym than I make at my marketing job. The guy I accused of wasting time on a hobby is now a legitimate business owner while I'm still climbing the corporate ladder at the same company I was at 5 years ago. How's that for a reality check? I keep wondering what would have happened if I just supported him instead of fighting him every step of the way. What if I'd used those Sunday mornings to work on my own goals instead of demanding he stay in bed with me? What if I'd seen his client sessions as proof he was driven and ambitious instead of competition for his attention? But here's the thing that really gets me. I don't think I was ready for that version of myself back then. I wanted someone successful, but I also wanted someone who would make me their entire world. You can't have both. People who build successful things have to prioritize those things sometimes. And people who demand to always be the top priority usually end up with partners who don't have much else going on. Jason tells me he loves me all the time, and I believe him. But his love doesn't feel the same as Matthew's used to. Jason loves me because I'm the most interesting thing in his pretty boring life. Matthew loved me while also having this whole other passion and purpose. There's something more attractive about being loved by someone who has choices, who could be doing other things, but chooses to be with you. Now I'm 27, dating a guy who's stuck in the same place Matthew was at 22, except without any of the ambition to change it. And Matthew, he's living exactly the life he planned out, probably dating someone who actually appreciates what he built instead of resenting it. I used to think I was teaching him that relationships should come first. Turns out I was just teaching him that some people will try to hold you back from becoming who you're meant to be. And honestly, that's probably the most valuable lesson I could have given him, even if it wasn't the one I meant to teach. The crazy part is, I still think I was right about enjoying your 20s. I just didn't realize that watching someone you love build something amazing could be part of that enjoyment. Instead, I chose immediate gratification over long-term partnership with someone who is actually going somewhere. And now I get to live with that choice while scrolling through his success stories every few months like some kind of masochist.